there was something behind, some kind of technology that was based on natural laws that people understood and applied in their daily life to a point where it's still in use today. So there seems to be a kind of an invisible technology at work here. And in fact, just over dinner, we were just talking about this, how not too far from here, at Santuario del Chimayo in New Mexico, just north of Santa Fe, miracles have been taking place at the sanctuary for over 4,000 years. The Anasazi used to go here to partake of the healing mud, and they'd scoop a little bit out of the ground, they apply it all over themselves, and lo and behold, they're cured. Well, it turns out that when the site was heavily Christianized, in fact, I made a count, I think on a square foot basis, it has the most number of crucifixes in the world. You park your car at the entrance, and there's already 400 crosses around you, and you think that you may have died in a car crash just getting there. You're feeling guilty for some reason, you don't know why. But the underlying premise remains, because when you walk into the building, it's full of crutches on the walls, and they're not making this up. This is an actual truth, that the people that go there, whether they're Christians or Muslims or anybody, any kind of denomination, you go there, you go into this little hole in the back room, you scoop out some of the mud, and you apply it, and miraculously, it heals people of all kinds of things. So it's still working today as it used to do 4,000 years ago. If you happen to be on the other side of the world, this is particularly true of sacred springs and holy wells, which are essentially the original sacred sites. Before we built anything, where the water comes out of the earth in its pure state, that was what was venerated for its power and its efficacy. The water retains the memory of the purity of the earth itself. So all of these sacred springs, all of these sacred wells have a rich tradition of curative properties. And the specific locations also cure specific ailments. So there is a sacred well for curing eye problems, one for rickets, one for liver, one for problems with the limbs. And it's all to do with what's actually in the water itself. It's to do with the dissolved mineral content. One of the most famous ones that I know of is the famous well in Chartres Cathedral. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in the world. If you have a chance, go down into the crypt. There's a Frenchman there that leads these tours. He doesn't speak any language apart from French. He probably does, but just being bloody minded. And which means I can also make up my own stories when I go there with groups, because he'll give you the official version, and I'll say, Monsieur, do you mind if I translate? The group ne parle pas français. Oui, oui, merci. Now, what he didn't say was, and they go, oh, and he's going, oh, thank you very much for being so helpful. My pleasure, only too glad to help. This well was one of the starting points upon which the cathedral itself was built, because right behind it is the original dolmen that this is way before the Druids, the Neolithic people used to venerate. So the building itself is built on many, many layers of sanctity. But they used to come here originally because of the curative properties of waters. And they named it the Well of the Strong for that very reason, because you drank the water and it made you feel strong. It made you feel healed. And there's a technology behind this, because the effectiveness of this water, like I said, is due in part to the dissolved mineral content, but also because of the electromagnetic energy at the site itself. What you're seeing here is a map of what goes on inside and underneath the building at Chartres. You have a big watercourse, which goes about 200 feet below the building. And my pointer. It goes all the way around like a big horseshoe. And look at where the Virgin or the pillar happens to stand, a very powerful effigy of the Black Madonna, right where the underground watercourse happens to meet. The well is right inside the watercourse, and the altar, with all of its lines of electromagnetic energy, are feeding off that water. What's going on here? Well, Chartres is built on a massive of limestone. When water percolates through limestone, it creates a natural electrical charge, and it charges the water. So this is the technology that they're working with. It's a natural law at work, and you can sense it and you can feel it. And in case people forgot what was there, they built some standing stones, then they built a mound, and they built a big dolmen, and eventually the building that you now see today. So it's like a big Russian doll, this building. It's very, very powerful combination. to show the world that there was something very important taking place across the face of the earth that literally affects all of us, and it's still affecting us today, and it's going to go and do so for a long, long time to come. It's help from the outside world. It's also a warning to the human race of impending change. I won't say catastrophe. I don't want you to leave the building just yet. But before, sometimes when you have to cross over into another threshold, you have to go through a bit of pain in order to get there. Order and chaos are part of the world. So they're just trying to give us a heads up that there is help. It's around us. We just have to write it down, transmit it, and put it into action. As the Hopi said, we're the ones we're waiting for. We just need a bit of help. So I began to look at the evidence that had been accumulated to prove that the crop circles were a real phenomenon, which yes they are, and they are differentiated to the nonsense that's made by people, and you can tell the difference quite easily, and that the properties found in the crop circles are identical to sacred places. So these are the new temples being created by a consciousness, but they're just doing it by pressing down cereal grain around the world. And it turns out that the crop circles use identical principles to encode information, and they are capable of transferring a code to living organisms, one with a potential to heal people. So that was what the bar that you set yourself, and you think, how the hell am I going to prove this? Well, things come out of the woodwork, and before you know it, you've got the information.